I never thought I'd be the person setting ultimatums in a relationship. Yet here I am, 3 years deep with the woman I love, watching everything crumble because of a text message from someone who shouldn't matter anymore. My stomach has been in knots for weeks. When she first mentioned her ex reaching out, I tried to play it cool, but inside, something broke. Now I'm questioning everything, our trust, our future, and whether standing my ground makes me the villain in our story. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. I wasn't even planning to go that night. I was exhausted from work and wanted nothing more than to collapse on my couch with takeout and mindless television. But my friend insisted, saying there would be interesting people there. I had no idea that phrase would change my life. She was standing by the window, nursing a glass of wine, looking slightly uncomfortable in the crowded apartment. Our eyes met across the room, and we spent the rest of the night talking in a quiet corner, while the party raged around us. There was something about her that felt different. Maybe it was her quiet confidence, or the way she listened, really listened, when I spoke. By our third date, I learned about her past. 2 relationships, both ended by betrayal. The first one had been during college, a 3-year relationship that fell apart when she discovered he'd been cheating with a classmate. The second was shorter but no less painful, a year-long relationship that ended when she found messages on his phone. She told me these stories not with bitterness, but with a kind of resigned sadness that broke my heart. I'm probably going to be a bit guarded, she had warned me. It takes me time to trust now. I promised her then that she could trust me, that I would never hurt her the way they had. And for 3 years, we built something I thought was unshakable. We moved in together after 18 months. We adopted a cat. We talked about the future. Marriage, maybe kids someday. The kind of house we'd want. I thought we were solid. It started with a notification. We were having dinner at home, something simple I had cooked after we both had long days at work. Her phone lit up on the table between us, and I saw her expression change as she read the message. "Everything okay?" I asked. She hesitated just a second too long. "Yeah, it's my ex. The first one. He just messaged me asking how I'd been." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. She hadn't mentioned either of her exes in over a year. They were part of her past, not our present. I carefully set my fork down, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Oh, that's random after what, 6 years?" She nodded, still looking at her phone. "Yeah, it's weird. He said he's been thinking about old friends and wanted to catch up." I remember feeling something cold settle in my chest, but I pushed it away. This was nothing, I told myself. People reach out to exes all the time for innocent reasons. And I trusted her completely. "What are you going to say?" I asked. "I'm thinking of replying," she said, looking up at me. "What do you think?" What I thought was, "Why would you want to talk to someone who hurt you so badly?" What I thought was, "There's nothing good that can come from reopening old wounds." What I thought was, "I don't like this at all." What I said was, "I don't really see why you'd want to bother talking to him when he's not in your life anymore. But I can't stop you from talking to him." She smiled then, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "I appreciate that. It's probably nothing anyway." But it wasn't nothing. Over the next few weeks, she would occasionally mention getting another message from him. "Ex messaged again," she would say casually. "Just catching up on what we've both been doing these past years." But something felt off. The frequency of her mentions didn't match the way she was always on her phone. I started noticing how she would angle her screen away slightly when texting. How she would sometimes smile at something on her phone, but not share what was funny. I told myself I was being paranoid. That her past relationships had made me hyper-aware of any potential threats. That was better than this jealousy that was starting to eat at me. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. We were getting ready for bed, our nightly routine of brushing teeth and setting alarms. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling through her phone when she looked up. "So, my ex suggested going for drinks with some old friends this weekend. Just a casual catch-up thing." I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth. I rinsed quickly and walked back into the bedroom, trying to process what she had just said so casually. Going for drinks? With her ex? The one who had cheated on her and broken her heart. The one she hadn't spoken to in 6 years until a few weeks ago. "You're going for drinks with him?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "With him and a few other friends from back then," she clarified, as if that made it better. "It's just catching up." I stood there, feeling something building inside me, a mixture of anger, hurt, and fear that threatened to overflow. "I'm not comfortable with that," I finally said. She looked up from her phone, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not comfortable with you going out drinking with your ex-boyfriend. Why not? It's not like it's just the two of us. There will be other people there. I took a deep breath, trying to organize my thoughts. I think it's disrespectful to our relationship. There's no reason for him to be back in your life, especially not in a setting with alcohol involved. We're just catching up, she repeated, her voice taking on an edge. It's not a big deal. It is to me, I insisted. I've been noticing you texting him a lot more than you've mentioned to me, and now this. It makes me uncomfortable. Her expression hardened. Are you monitoring my texting habits now? No. I ran my hand through my hair in frustration. Look, I'm just telling you I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not telling you what to do, but I am telling you how I feel about it. Sounds like you're telling me not to go. I'm telling you that if you choose to go knowing how I feel about it, then we have a serious problem. It crosses a boundary for me. She stood up then, arms crossed. So you're giving me an ultimatum? Either I don't go or we're over. Put like that, it sounded harsh, controlling you. But something in me couldn't back down. I'm saying that if you choose to go out drinking with someone who hurt you, someone who has no place in our lives now, despite knowing how much it bothers me. Odd? Then yes, that will be it for us. Because it shows me where your priorities are. That's controlling behavior, she said, her voice rising. You can't dictate who I can and can't see. I'm not dictating anything. I'm telling you what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not. You're free to make your choice, but so am I. We went to bed angry that night, backs turned to each other, the silence between us heavy and accusing. The next few days were tense. We moved around each other like strangers sharing an apartment, our conversations limited to practical matters. Can you pick up milk on your way home? Did you pay the internet bill? The warmth that had characterized our relationship for 3 years seemed to have evaporated overnight. I kept turning the situation over in my mind, examining it from every angle, trying to determine if I was being unreasonable. I thought about her past, how deeply she had been hurt by betrayal. I thought about my own insecurities, whether they were clouding my judgment. But every time I circled back to the same conclusion, this wasn't about controlling her. This was about respect, about the boundaries that keep a relationship healthy. On Thursday evening, I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table, waiting for me. My heart sank. I knew what this conversation was about before she even opened her mouth. We need to talk about this weekend, she said. I set my bag down and sat across from her. Okay, I've been thinking about what you said, and I don't think you're being fair. These are old friends I haven't seen in years. Yes, my ex will be there, but that doesn't mean anything is going to happen. I never said something would happen, I pointed out. That's not what this is about. Then, what is it about? Because it feels like you don't trust me. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. This isn't about trust. It's about respect. I wouldn't go out drinking with an ex who cheated on me, knowing it made you uncomfortable. I wouldn't even consider it. That's different, she argued. You've never been in this situation. No. But I know how I would handle it if I were. And it wouldn't be by dismissing your feelings. She sighed, running her hands through her hair in frustration. So I'm supposed to miss out on reconnecting with old friends because you're insecure about my ex. That stung. This isn't about insecurity. This is about what I consider appropriate boundaries in a relationship. And yes, I do think going out drinking with an ex who cheated on you crosses that line, especially when your current partner has explicitly stated they're not comfortable with it. So I'm just supposed to live by your rules? What other boundaries are you going to enforce? Who I can talk to? Where I can go? Her words were deliberately provocative, painting me as controlling, possessive. But I knew that wasn't true. This wasn't about controlling her movements or dictating her friendships. This was about one specific situation that felt wrong to me on a fundamental level. That's not fair, and you know it, I said quietly. I've never once tried to control who you talk to or where you go in the 3 years we've been together. This is the first time I've ever expressed discomfort with something like this, and instead of considering my feelings, you're acting like I'm trying to put you under lock and key. Because it feels that way. You're literally threatening to end our relationship if I go. I took a deep breath. I'm not threatening anything. I'm being honest about what this means to me. If you choose to go, knowing how I feel about it, then, yes, I will take that as a sign that our relationship isn't as important to you as I thought it was. And I'll act accordingly. That's the definition of an ultimatum. Call it what you want. I'm just being honest about my boundaries. She stood up then, pushing her chair back with more force than necessary. Well, I'm still going. These are my friends, and I have a right to see them regardless of how you feel about it. As she walked away, I felt something breaking inside me. 3 years of love and trust, and building a life together, and it could all end over this. Was I being unreasonable? Was I letting my pride or insecurity destroy something beautiful? That night, alone in our bed while she slept on the couch, I couldn't stop the thoughts racing through my mind. I replayed our entire relationship, searching for signs that I had been controlling in ways I hadn't recognized. Had I ever made her feel restricted before? Had I ever given her reason to think I didn't trust her? I thought about her past, how deeply the betrayals had hurt her. It seemed inconceivable to me that she would want to spend time with someone who had caused her so much pain. What was she looking for in reconnecting with him? Closure? Want? Validation? Or was there something more? Something she wasn't telling me? The questions kept me awake until the early hours of the morning. When my alarm went off, I felt hollow, exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. I moved through my morning routine mechanically, barely registering when she came into the kitchen as I was making coffee. "I'm still going tomorrow," she said, her voice soft but determined. "I need you to understand that this isn't about disrespecting you or our relationship. These are people who were important to me once, and I want to see where they are now, how their lives have turned out." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak without my voice breaking. The finality in her tone told me all I needed to know. She had made her choice, and it wasn't the one I had hoped for. "I hope you'll reconsider your position," she continued. "I don't want this to be the thing that ends us." I looked at her then, really looked at her, the woman I had loved for 3 years, the woman I had planned a future with. "Neither do I said honestly. "But this matters to me. It's a line I can't cross." "It shouldn't be a line at all," she argued. "In a healthy relationship, people don't set these kinds of boundaries. They trust each other. In a healthy relationship, people respect each other's comfort levels," I countered. "They don't dismiss their partner's concerns as irrelevant or controlling." We were at an impasse, two people who loved each other but couldn't or wouldn't see the other's perspective. As I left for work, I wondered if this was the beginning of the end for us. Friday arrived with a sense of inevitability. We had barely spoken since our conversation the day before, both of us retreating into ourselves, preparing for what felt increasingly like an ending. I came home from work to find her getting ready, applying makeup in the bathroom. My heart sank. "So, you're going," I said from the doorway, not a question but a confirmation of what I already knew. She met my eyes in the mirror. "Yes, I am. And I hope when I come back, we can talk about this calmly and find a way forward." I leaned against the doorframe, suddenly tired. I've been clear about where I stand. This isn't something I can compromise on. "Why not?" she asked, turning to face me directly. "Why is this particular boundary so important that you're willing to throw away 3 years over it?" It was a fair question, one I had been asking myself constantly. "Because it speaks to a fundamental difference in how we view respect in a relationship," I said slowly. "To me, going out drinking with an ex who hurt you badly, when your current partner has explicitly stated they're uncomfortable with it, shows a lack of respect for the relationship. And if we don't have that mutual respect as a foundation, what do we have? We have trust," she insisted. "History, daughter you, and deceive. Children, a future we've been planning together. Are you really willing to throw all that away over one night out? Are you?" I asked quietly, because from where I'm standing, you're the one making that choice. She sighed, turning back to the mirror to finish her makeup. "I don't see it that way. I see someone trying to control me, and I can't live like that." The words hung between us, heavy with implication. If she saw my boundary as control, and I saw her dismissal of it as disrespect, where could we possibly go from here? "Have a good time," I said finally, walking away before she could see the tears threatening to fall. I heard the front door close 30 minutes later. Alone in our apartment, surrounded by the life we had built together, I felt hollowed out. 3 years of love and trust and planning for the future, potentially ending because of a difference in perspective that neither of us seemed able to bridge. Was I being stubborn? Was my pride worth the cost of losing her? But every time I questioned myself, I came back to the same conclusion. This wasn't about pride. This wasn't even about her ex specifically. This was about respect, about acknowledging and honoring your partner's discomfort, even if you don't fully understand or agree with it. In a relationship, some boundaries aren't negotiable, not because they're arbitrary rules designed to control, but because they represent deeply held values about how partners should treat each other. I waited up for her that night, not sure what I was hoping for. Maybe that she would come home early, having realized that this outing wasn't worth the strain it was putting on our relationship. Maybe that I would have some epiphany that would allow me to let go of this boundary that felt so important to me. Neither happened. She came home late, smelling of alcohol and cigarette smoke from the bar. I was sitting on the couch in the dark living room, and she startled when she saw me. "You're still up," she said, her voice slightly slurred. She had clearly had more than a couple of drinks. "How was it?" I asked, not sure I wanted to hear the answer. She shrugged, dropping her purse on the coffee table. "It was fine. Good to see everyone. Catch up on old times, and your ex. He's doing well. Got a promotion recently. Still with the same company." The casual way she spoke about him, as if he were just any old acquaintance, and not someone who had broken her heart, someone whose reappearance was fracturing our relationship, made something inside me harden. "I'm going to stay at my brother's tomorrow," I said quietly. "I think we both need some space to figure out what happens next." She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw a flash of fear in her eyes. Perhaps she hadn't truly believed I would follow through. Perhaps she had thought this was a bluff, a manipulation tactic to get my way. "Don't do this," she said, her voice suddenly sober. "We can work through this, can we?" I asked. Because it seems like we have fundamentally different views on what respect looks like in a relationship, and I don't know how to bridge that gap. So that's it. 3 years, just gone, because I went out with friends? No, I corrected gently. 3 years, just gone, because when I told you something made me deeply uncomfortable, something that I considered disrespectful to our relationship, you dismissed my feelings and did it anyway. That's what this is about. She sank down onto the couch beside me, not touching, the distance between us both physical and emotional. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered. "I don't want to lose you either," I admit it. "But I also don't want to be in a relationship where my boundaries are considered controlling rather than expressions of what I need to feel secure and respected." We sat in silence for a long time, the ticking of the clock on the wall marking the passage of time, each second taking us further from what we had been and closer to whatever we would become. It's been 3 days since that night. I have been staying at my brother's apartment, sleeping on his uncomfortable couch, staring at the ceiling late into the night as I try to make sense of where we go from here. My phone is filled with messages from her, apologetic at first, then angry, then pleading. I've responded to some, letting her know I'm safe, that I'm not making any permanent decisions yet, that I just need time to think. Friends have weighed in, as friends do. Some think I'm overreacting, that this wasn't worth potentially ending a 3-year relationship over. Others understand my position, telling me that boundaries are important and that her dismissal of mine is concerning. Everyone has an opinion, but none of them are living my life, feeling what I feel. The truth is, I'm torn. I love her. 3 years of building a life together creates bonds that aren't easily broken. I miss waking up next to her, our quiet mornings with coffee, the way she laughs at my terrible jokes, how she always knows when I've had a bad day at work before I even say anything. The thought of starting over without her is a physical ache in my chest. But I also can't shake the feeling that something fundamental has been revealed in this conflict. It's not just about her going out for drinks with her ex. It's about how she responded when I expressed my discomfort, dismissive, defensive, unwilling to consider that my boundary might be valid, even if she didn't share it. It's about the ease with which she labeled me controlling rather than trying to understand my perspective. And now I find myself questioning everything. If she couldn't respect this boundary, what about future ones? If she sees my expression of discomfort as an attempt to control her rather than a statement of my needs, how can we navigate the inevitable conflicts that arise in any long-term relationship? Yesterday, she asked to meet in person to talk. I agreed, suggesting a neutral location, the coffee shop where we had our second date, a place with good memories but not so intimate as our apartment. I'm not sure what I'm hoping for from this conversation. An acknowledgement that my boundary, while perhaps not one she agrees with, is still valid and deserving of respect. A commitment to better communication and consideration in the future? Or maybe just clarity, one way or another, about whether we can move forward from this or if the damage is irreparable. What I do know is that I can't simply let this go, can't pretend it didn't happen, or that it doesn't matter. Because it does matter. It matters how we treat each other's feelings, how we navigate differences, how we balance individual freedom with the compromises necessary for a healthy relationship. Some might call me stubborn. Perhaps I am. But I believe that in relationships as in life, we teach people how to treat us by what we accept, what we allow, what we forgive. And sometimes, standing firm on a boundary isn't about being rigid or controlling. It's about honoring yourself and what you need to feel secure and respected in a relationship. So, tomorrow, I'll sit across from the woman I love in that coffee shop, and we'll see if we can find our way back to each other, or if this is where our paths diverge. Either way, I know that holding fast to this boundary, painful as the consequences may be, is not something I can regret. Because a relationship without mutual respect isn't a relationship I want to be in, no matter how much love there may be. Am I the asshole for refusing to change or get rid of one of my boundaries? Maybe in some people's eyes. But I'd rather be true to myself and what I need than compromise my values for the sake of keeping the peace. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. And some principles, once abandoned, leave you with nothing but a hollow version of yourself, living a life dictated by others' terms rather than your own. Whatever happens tomorrow, I know this much. I deserve a relationship where my boundaries are respected, even when they're inconvenient. We all do.